Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to Charlie and Company. And today we were supposed to have James Kostohryz, global investor, but he's running late. He got stuck in a meeting, and he's in Medellin, Colombia right now. And if he comes in later, he comes in later. But with that said, I brought somebody more dynamic, more keen to the camera, Mr. Mark Benavides, native of Brownsville, Texas. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great, Charlie. I appreciate you having me on tonight, man.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let the people in the Valley know who you are. We have about 3,000 followers, and they're going to want to know who you are before they want to listen to you.
Right. Well, first off, congratulations to you on the show, man. I've been following you guys for a minute, and I think you're doing great things down in Brownsville, down in the Valley, allowing folks a platform to discuss, politics, sports, those types of things, economics. So kudos to you and your team. Yeah, man. So as you pointed out, I'm originally from Brownsville, Texas, born and raised, and graduated in 1989 from Pace High School. I think you were a few years ahead of me, like 10.
Yeah.
Nice. But I moved to San Marcos shortly after I graduated, went to school at Southwest Texas State, and then moved to Austin in 1992. So I've been here for a minute, man. I can't complain. I'm enjoying it. That's about it, man. Happy to be on with you.
Awesome, man. So what do you remember about the 90s, Southwest Texas? I remember we used to go up there and visit you. We traveled from San Antonio. We'd go. You worked at a bar downtown Austin, which a lot of people would probably remember. I think it was Ivory Cats.
Yeah, it was. So I was going to school at Southwest Texas State, and I got a job working in downtown Austin. I worked at at the time it was a piano bar. It was kind of a neat deal because back then 6th Street, as you know, is an entertainment district, but back then there were maybe 6 or 7 bars on the strip, and so I along with my cousin Carlos, we worked down there and worked the door, and of course we spent a lot of time with you in San Antonio, and then of course you guys come visit us in Austin and kind of hang out. So it was real cool, man. I mean, it was right around the time South by Southwest was starting. So if you're familiar with South by Southwest, it went from a small festival that promoted, local companies and the arts, theater, movies, technology. It's now grown into one of the biggest technology, arts, and music and film festivals in the country. So it was kind of neat being able to participate early on in the stages of South by Southwest. So yeah, it was real cool in terms of being on the ground level.
You made a lot of connections when you worked down, and everybody knows, if you know a Benavides in Brownsville, Texas, or in Los Fresnos, or in Laredo, or the Benavideses, they're lively characters, and I mean, I'm just ecstatic to have you on right now because I know we're gonna laugh, and I know we're right now. It's your first time up on here. You're probably a little nervous, but the Mark Benavides I know is gonna come out pretty soon, and the Spanish is gonna come out, and you're gonna be able to be a little bit more relaxed here. But what I want to know is, a lot of us went and left the Valley to go to school. A lot of us, many of us, came back. You did it. You wanted more. You said, you know what? I don't want to go back to Brownsville. Not that you didn't like Brownsville. You just said, I like the hustle and bustle of Austin. And now 25 years, 30 years later? No,
almost 30, yeah.
Almost 30 years later, you're still there. You're thriving. You have a great business. Tell us what you do right now.
Yeah, so let me backtrack a little bit. For me, Charlie, it wasn't a function of not wanting to go back to the Valley. Right, there's a lot of opportunity in the Valley. My family's down there. My dear friends like yourself are down there. So it wasn't a matter of, no, I don't want to go back. It was just a function of opportunity at the time that I was here, right? I mean, you're starting to see enormous growth. Texas has always been pretty stable in terms of economy, whether it was a Democratic governor or a Republican governor, right? We have tons of natural resources, a lot of opportunity. And so that said, for me, it was just a matter of, I had already established roots in Austin. So, you know, as you pointed out, I started a small business. My family's been in driver education for, geez, man, 1972 is when my family opened up the first Benavides driving school down in Brownsville, then ultimately Harlingen, McAllen, and so forth. And so, you know what, Charlie, truth be told, man, I never intended on going into the family business, right, if you will. But it's one of those deals where I felt comfortable teaching, and it was one of those deals where I had opportunity here. So I opened up a small business, you know, 20, 25 years ago. We have, of course, pivoted in terms of our platform. And what I mean by that is, I think what we've seen over the course of the last 5, 10 years is we've seen a big shift to online training, right? The pandemic, I think, accelerated that shift. And so to answer your question, I have an online driver education program specifically set up for teens ages 14 to 17. So I think what's happened is that there's been a shift to online education and online training. And so my plans moving forward are to hopefully grow the company outside of just the driver education content. Now that we've built our learning management system and our content management system, I'm looking at other content. So yeah, man, I mean, it's not easy because there are huge corporations that do what I do that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's a little difficult to compete when you're not backed by $120 million. But we do what we can, man. At the end of the day, it's about customer service. It's about knowledge. You can have all the money and all the backing, but if there is no substance to your content, kids and folks eventually figure out, hey, you know what? This looks really pretty and shiny, but there's no substance to it. So we're trying to do what we can to grow and advance.
Yeah, my daughter went through your school. She got her driver's license because of your online service, because my daughter didn't want to go to a traditional classroom, a traditional driving school. She's like, Dad, why can't I just pass the test? I'm like, well, you know, and that's when I talked to you and you hooked me up with the online driver's license service where she could get her driver's license. The only catch is that she had to wait till she was 17, right, or 16.
Well, it's 16 for the license, but so the content and the requirements are no different than a regular classroom course, right? A traditional, what you would call a commercial brick and mortar driving school. I think what happens, Charlie, is that kids, relative to when you and I were in school, are just so much busier. Parents are busy that the platform that we offer is just convenient. It's just much more convenient. You can do your courses online at home 24/7 versus having to drive your kiddo to a location, 3 to 4 weeks out of the month. And it's really just a matter of convenience. You'd be surprised, Charlie, how people are willing to pay for convenience. And I think that's really what it boils down to. Now, our courses relative to commercial driving schools are a lot less, right? My program is, our normal price is $83. We're running sales right now. So our course is $58. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when you and I were going through these types of classes, and when you and I were in high school, there was no internet, there were no cell phones. So kiddos today are wired in, man, and that's part of it. So you have to pivot and you have to appeal to that market, and that's what we've tried to do to make things more convenient. Although we don't skimp on content and education, right? Because our focus at the end of the day is still education, but it's how you it's that vehicle. How do you get there, right? Can I access that content through my mobile phone or my tablet or my computer versus having to physically attend? Now, there's a lot of debate in terms of whether or not kiddos are learning online as they would in an in-person in-classroom setting. And I'm not qualified to answer that, but at the end of the day, we try to provide folks with a convenient way to access our content.
Yeah, and I think my daughter understood it, because my daughter, of course, she's in the computer age, so she was able to go take. You do have to take the driving test in person, and she passed.
You still have to do the driving test, at the DPS, but the actual permit test. So we're licensed to do that through our platform, which is convenient, right? The kiddos can take their official permit test through our website, but I think at the end of the day, it's just really about convenience. And some educators, you're a longtime educator. My parents, both taught public school in Brownsville. I've got a lot of uncles and relatives that teach. And so there's always that struggle, right? Hey, are kids really grasping what they need to understand through these Zoom meetings, or, through these online learning management systems? So,
yeah. Okay, we're getting a bit boring now. Let's change the subject to some current events, man. What's the view from outside of Brownsville about Brownsville? I know you try to keep up with Brownsville. What is your take on SpaceX? What is your take on the border with all these people crossing? What is your take about, Trump finally losing, getting the hell out of the Oval Office? I know we talk a lot. We'll talk about current events, and I want to talk about current events on here too with you. And like the latest with, I know Carlos is doing a lot of real estate in Austin, but right now in Brownsville, it's starting to boom. And a lot of the reason is SpaceX and Elon Musk throwing a lot of money down in Brownsville, giving the city of Brownsville $20 million, $30 million for all the school districts. What do you think of all that? As an outsider now, even though Brownsville's your home, what is it that you see? Are we doing something right? Are we on the right track?
Look, this is my opinion, right? I'm a fan of growth. So I think that my hometown is going to experience a huge boom over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So in terms of the growth and in terms of what Elon Musk is bringing to the table, I think it's huge, a huge benefit to the citizens of Brownsville, Los Fresnos, the Valley in general, right? I mean, here's a guy who's on the forefront of all sorts of technology. You're talking about space travel over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So it's super exciting, in my opinion. Now, what it's bringing to the Valley and to the folks down in the Valley, I mean, Charlie, I don't think that there's any debate that what this guy's doing for the Valley is going to be huge.
Game changer.
It's going to afford and allow folks in South Texas a lot of opportunity. When you think about it, you think about Silicon Valley, right? You think about San Francisco back in the 70s and 80s, and you think about Apple, and you think about I remember my brother Gilbert and I were in a conference. About 10 or 15 years ago, it was a conference called the Mark Logic Conference, and they were introducing Twitter. And in fact, during South by Southwest, they launched Twitter, right? So what I'm getting at is that the Valley's going to have opportunity that you wouldn't find outside of New York, outside of San Francisco, outside of Austin, right? Because Austin, you're seeing a big shift to Texas, where a lot of these tech companies are coming down specifically to Austin. Facebook, and you've got Intel, obviously, Dell, Advanced Micro Devices, Applied Materials. And so
tell us about the people moving from California to Austin. Austin's considered the next Silicon Valley. How do you, as a resident there now for like 20, 30 years, are you seeing it too busy now? Is it getting to a point where, golly, or do you love all the new
so great question, right? So first off, Austin is referred to as Silicon Hills, right? Because of the hill country. Look, man, Charlie, I'm a fan of growth, right? People, I think, spend and I mean this respectfully, but I think we spend so much time worried about all the downside and the negatives, right? The traffic and, the cost of living is going up and the price of real estate is going up. And I'm thinking, yeah, man, but you have to think about what this growth is bringing to the region. It's offering opportunity for my kids, my daughter. Moving forward, it's going to offer opportunities that she wouldn't have otherwise, right? Same thing with the Valley. When you think about Elon Musk contributing personal funds to Cameron County and to the city of Brownsville and to the arts and to things like that, education. So no, I don't have any problem with growth. I'll take the growth all day. I think that what tends to happen is I think people sometimes get disillusioned because they figure, hey, I'm a native Austinite. I've been here for, my entire life. And, the cost of real estate is quadrupled over the course of the last 10 years. And I'm like, yeah, no, I get that. And it's hard, right? But in terms of opportunity, Charlie, there's no argument that what's happening in the Valley and what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years is going to allow folks to prosper. So I don't see a problem with it, right?
Yeah. But you know that Rasta down here in Brownsville, chingada, the real estate's going up, pinche Musk, get out of here. I go, you know what? You wanted growth. You wanted big buildings in Brownsville. Why can't we be like Mexico? Why can't we be like Mexico? I mean, why can't we be like McAllen? Why can't Brownsville be like McAllen? We're not McAllen. We don't want to be like McAllen. McAllen's full of restaurants and warehouses and stuff like that. Brownsville's going to grow at its own pace. The real estate is going up in Brownsville, and you got a lot of people like, man, it's going to get expensive. What the hell are they doing to us? But chingao, that's the price to pay when you want to bring a company like SpaceX down in the Valley. I like the way Brownsville is slowly coming up. I don't want to be as fast as McAllen. People like, McAllen advertises the Port of Brownsville has a business opportunity. We have all that. We have the seaport, the airport. We have SpaceX. We have the beaches. We have one of the last public beaches that you can go to without having to pay an arm and a leg to get over to South Padre Island and have to wait on the accesses to get in there. We're
right. But that's part of the struggle, right? I mean, growth is, look, Charlie, growth is always, you're going to have folks that are for it and you're going to have folks that are against it. Look, I firmly believe that everybody's entitled to their own opinion. If you're not okay with the growth, that's okay. But I think that there are benefits to the growth, right? You're going to see, look, think about this, right? You have a guy who's uber wealthy, uber smart, saying, hey, I'm betting on Brownsville. So I don't look at it as a negative. I'm looking at it as this guy sees something in Brownsville and the Valley and its constituents and its people and Port Isabel and South Padre Island saying, hey, man, I could think about it, Charlie. He could go anywhere in the world. And he chose Brownsville, Texas. Why? Because folks are hardworking and they're loyal and there's opportunity down there. So I don't look at it as a negative. Look, man, there's always a struggle with change, right? You and I both know that. Change creates, I think it creates, in some cases, doubt and questions. But no, I think when you look at the opportunities that your kids are going to have moving forward and our grandkids, and there's no argument. Look at Houston, right? You have to think about Brownsville. We have a major port of entry, right? We have
Mexico.
Right, no argument there. But we're talking about Texas and we're talking about the U.S. In terms of opportunity, I don't see the dilemma. I mean, I really don't. This guy's coming in saying, "Hey, I want to create jobs. I want to create opportunity. I don't see the issue with that."
Let's go back to some questions real quick, Miss Producer. Let's go back a couple. There's one before. There's one. All right, schools back in the day offered driver's ed courses. I remember attending an outside portable at Pace High School.
Yeah.
Have you thought about offering the course as an elective through the schools now that COVID has forced online learning? Have you ever thought of that, Mark?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think, first of all, you have to remember that when Ricardo was in high school in 1954, shit was a little bit different, right?
1980.
I got nothing but love for him. No, look, man, here's what happened. So driver's ed used to be an elective. You'd get a half a credit for it. What started to happen is that school districts started to realize that the insurance and liability was just too great to continue to offer driver's ed. Now, you have to remember that back then, and Ricardo's right, you have to remember that back then, a lot of the local car dealerships would loan cars to the school districts. or to the schools, and they'd say, hey, you can use our card. Just make sure you put a sign there that reads, Tipitech Chevrolet or Cardenas Motors or whatever. The problem was the amount of miles that were being put on these cars, the amount of insurance that the school districts were having to pay for liability. There were a lot of factors and variables. So they said, look, man, so there are still schools that offer the classroom component, but the behind the wheel and the driving component, it's just too much of a liability. I hear you. And that's really the issue.
He has one more question. It says, are you afraid of Austin will get too weird with California people moving in?
Yeah, no. So, look, man, the thing about Austin is always kind of, and people refer to it as keep Austin weird, right? I think that there's a huge disconnect with the data and the numbers. Now, again, I've spent many years in driver's ed, right? So when I taught defensive driving courses and I had my defensive driving schools, people would always complain about folks coming in from California. Charlie, there are more people moving to Austin from within the state of Texas than outside of the state of Texas. So, no, I don't have a problem with that. I think that folks from California are moving because there's opportunity, and obviously the cost of living is much less expensive. But to Ricardo's point, no, I don't think that, me personally, right? I'm speaking for myself. I don't have a problem with folks from anywhere moving to Austin, man. It's opportunity, and that's okay. That's cool.
Elizabeth Dearham says Austin is so liberal. Yes, it is.
Yeah, no, Austin's certainly a liberal town. No argument there, right? It's blue. But I think that when you start to get into debates about liberal and conservative and Democrats and Republicans, there's a huge disconnect. And here's why. When you and I were growing up, there were what, three stations, right? CBS, ABC, NBC. You had guys like Dan Rather. You had guys like Walter Cronkite. There was no, in my opinion, and I may be wrong, but there was no agenda. And I think what's happened over the course of the last 10 years is that we've seen a shift more to entertainment versus actual news. And so when you start to talk about the city of Austin, when people say, hey, I identify with conservatives or I identify with liberals or in between, look, at the end of the day, nobody wants to pay more taxes, but we still have to look out for each other, right? And so we've got a big problem in the city of Austin with homelessness. You have to remember that we saw a bit of a shift when we had Katrina happen. Folks were, they were put in situations where they had no homes. And so there was a shift to folks moved to Houston, they moved to Dallas, they moved to Austin. So yeah, it's certainly liberal. There's no doubt about that. But I think that there has to be a balance, Charlie, between being socially conscious, environmentally conscious, and being fiscally conservative. I just think that people identify with the right or the left, and there's no in between. And I don't agree with that, because there's a lot of us that are fiscally conservative. There's a lot of us that are socially adept. And
let's see if we have any more comments. Is Austin the same fun place it was before COVID?
Yeah, it's a ton of fun, man. You guys should come down and visit.
We can stay with you, right?
You're all welcome to stay with me.
Hey, but how's 6th Street right now? 6th Street, are the college students out about, or are they?
So there's, look, again, 6th Street is what folks know, just like Bourbon Street in New Orleans, right? But we have so many entertainment districts. We've got the 2nd Street area, the Warehouse District. There's an entertainment district, in North Austin called the Domain, where you've got an outdoor shopping area, a lot of high-end shops, a lot of restaurants. So yeah, we're not limited to just 6th Street. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on, Charlie. Fortunately and unfortunately, on the east side, right, east of I-35, where you have a lot of folks that are complaining about, again, the cost of living going up, and so. But in terms of entertainment, yeah, no, there's a lot of cool stuff to do. We've got Circuit of the Americas. As you know, I'm about 15, 20 minutes from there. So we've got F1, MotoGP. We've got tons of concerts that come through the city.
I got another question. Irene Cavazos. Hi, Irene. How you doing?
Hey, Miss Irene.
But isn't most homelessness a mental health issue? Is that what you're getting? Or are you getting like a lot of users, math users, What are the most?
Yeah, look, Charlie,
Charlie,
that's a great question. And again, Miss Irene, really good question. I'm certainly not qualified to answer that. I can tell you what I think is the issue. Yeah, I don't think that people are put in a situation where they're homeless by choice, right? I mean, you have a lot of folks that might have experienced hardship in their life that have put them in a situation where they don't have homes. So yeah, I do agree with Irene that that's certainly a factor. But I also think that you have situations where, you have a lot of military folks, Charlie, that come back that are dealing with issues that they might have faced. Yeah, certainly PTSD, right? And it's not limited to just military folks. But what I'm getting at is that, yeah, I agree with Irene that that's a big part of it, right? So that's why I'm saying that you get into situations where, look, if it's me, I don't want 10,000 homeless people in our entertainment district. And I don't mean that in a rude way. What I'm getting at is that these folks need help, right? So we need to pool our resources. And we spent so much time and so much money trying to help. This is going to sound horrible, but we've spent so much time and so much money trying to help other countries. And I'm thinking, look, man, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of our folks and our veterans and our kiddos within the U.S., within Texas. And then we can focus on trying to help other people. But if we don't help ourselves, and I think that's part of the disconnect, and that's part of what irritates me, is that there's so much focus on others. And I'm thinking, look, man, we've got issues here within the U.S. that we really need to address in order to better ourselves, right? So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, to answer your question, Irene, yeah, I think that certainly there are cases where mental issues are a big factor.
Yeah. I love Austin. My son graduated from UT and still lives and works there. Awesome. Do we have more questions, Ms. Producer? Rainy Street is more upscale than 6th Street. Yes, it is.
Rainy Street is great. So Rainy Street is an entertainment district that started to kind of come about 10 years ago. And what they did, Charlie, is they took a bunch of older homes that were right off of I-35. They converted them into some great restaurants and great bars. So
dog friendly, right? Dog friendly.
Pardon me?
Dog friendly.
Yeah, there's a lot of dog-friendly restaurants and bars in the city. But as far as it being classy, look, I think class is relative, right? So 6th Street is going to be a little more rowdy, where Rainy, as your viewer pointed out, is going to be a little bit more. It's for adults, right? I mean, you're going to have folks you're not going to have teens running around Rainy Street, is what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, I agree with that comment.
What's the one thing you wish Austin would import from Brownsville and vice versa?
Tacos, bro. Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny because we were just having that conversation today, Charlie. There's so many great restaurants and wonderful chefs, but I was commenting to, ironically, my parents who are in town right now from Brownsville about the fact that I went to a trailer, right? We've got a bunch of taco trailers. I went to a trailer about a month ago, man, and I went and bought, listen, you'll get a kick out of this, man. I bought 24 street tacos. I spent $100. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm like, dude, you got crack in these tacos? I mean, shit, brother, I don't it's like, what's in these tacos? But yeah, man, tacos, I think would if I would have known 15 years ago that Austin would have been the taco capital of the state, no disrespect to anybody from San Antonio or the Valley, but you've got a place called Torchy's that is opening up or I don't know that they're franchises, but they're opening up restaurants all across the country, and all they do is sell tacos. Look, man, I miss my friends, my family. I miss the culture.
What do you think Brownsville needs from Austin?
I don't think Brownsville needs anything from Austin, right? Brownsville has its own identity. I just think that, man, I think the Valley is just, I think it's sometimes forgotten, Charlie. People don't realize, man, I tell folks all the time, I'm like, dude, when I was growing up in the Valley in Brownsville, we had communities that had no running water. They had no paved streets, no paved roads. I mean, So I think people, when you think about the valley, a lot of folks are like, oh, it's Mexico. I'm like, no, it's not Mexico, but we might as well be, because we are lowest on the totem pole, man, when it comes to funding, when it comes to economic growth. That's why, going back to your question earlier with regard to Elon Musk, I think he's going to do huge things, and I think the valley's going to benefit greatly with his support.
I totally agree. As you know, he put a request, an application through the county commission court, which your aunt sits on, Sophie Benavides. She sits on the county commission court.
Hey.
And he's putting an application to make his own city right there close to Boca Chica Beach. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, no, I read about that.
The big cheese man Brownsville is he's just giving all this money to the city of Brownsville because a lot of the city commissioners own businesses and real estate downtown Brownsville. So he's like, well, his move is to give him all this money and he's going to take over that beach.
Yeah, but think about the logic, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Charlie. Think about the logic. So what? If city commissioners, county commissioners, or local businessmen own the land? At the end of the day, if this guy's going to create jobs and economic opportunity, who cares? I think we focus so much on that, right? And I think that's part of what's frustrating to me is that when you think about that, well, so-and-so is going to benefit, or this person's going to, dude, is it going to bring jobs? Is it going to bring opportunity? Somebody owns that land, right? Somebody is going to own that land.
Well, the people own the Boca Chica Beach.
Magnolia Cafe is awesome, Irene.
Right now, to get to Boca Chica Beach, you got to go through SpaceX and what they're building out there. And I don't know if, Mark, when you come down here, I got to take you over there, man. It's like another level. They already have about 3,000 people working out there.
Right.
And all that rundown houses that they had, he's redoing them into his own little resort. He's building an inland type cove where his employees can live there and go into this man-made beach.
That's great, because where are they going to spend the money?
In Brownsville.
That's right, man. That's why I'm saying there's a big disconnect where, and I hate that there's corajito, right? There's chingo de corajito. People get, wait. I'm like, dude, look, who gives a shit? Folks are going to come down here. They're going to build. They're going to create opportunity. They're going to go to your restaurants. They're going to go to your bars. There's going to be tax growth. So I just don't get, not that folks are angry, or, again, I don't want to speak out of line, but what I'm saying is, so what, man? I mean, they're bringing opportunity, and that's the way I look at things. And I think that's what's allowed me, and I say this humbly, that's what's allowed me to have some level of success, is that I don't spend my energy and time being pissed and angry about stuff. I'm like, look, man, that's cool. How can I grow, right? How is there opportunity for my raza and for my family and for my friends?
Exactly. And the raza is going to be like, and we all grew up like this. And, my brother's mentioning it here down here. We grew up traveling to Boca Chica Beach, spending the night there, barbecuing out there. And we're 10 of us, right? And we'd get out there and spend the night and play out there, barbecue, come back home. My mom and dad would line us up with the manguera before we went into the house and spray us down so we wouldn't get no sand in the house. And one by one, we'd get rinsed out outside with the manguera, and then we'd go take a shower, right? But we lived to go to Boca Chica Beach and just spend time. And I think a lot of people just want that. They want to be able to have that.
Yeah.
They don't want to see that go away where, man, Elon Musk, he took away the beach from us. Now we can't go out there. Now we can't, and there's a price to growth, right? There's a price
for sure.
For growth.
Yeah, look, man, I get it. When I was a kid, just like you, with my folks and I, and my brother, we get out there, and the beautiful thing about Boca Chica Beach is that it's in its natural state, right? We'd get out there, and there were no streets, there was no pavement, there were no lights, nada. We'd get out there, we'd light a fire, we'd grill, and we'd hang out. So I understand, Charlie, and I don't disagree with the argument. It's just, to me, it's almost a better of two evils, right? I mean, do you want the growth and the opportunity, or do you not? I mean, and look, man, it's not, again, I'm not qualified to answer the question. I have family in the Valley, as you know, and tons of friends, but I haven't been in Brownsville in almost 30 years, man. And so for me, I get it. I get that people are getting pissed. They're like, ¿sabes qué? This is ours, man, and you're coming in and you're taking it away. I'm like, yeah, but what's the upside to that? And that's, I think, where there's a bit of a disconnect, is that people don't understand, hey, look, man, I get the beach is going to go away, but there's going to be opportunity for your kids and your grandkids. I don't know. It's a tough question. I think it's a struggle.
I really think that Brownsville is a great place to raise a family still. You know, people still go outside their house and barbecue. People still go outside and play. Not as much, but they still go outside and play. And you know, and I was talking to my friends that are coaches, and they're like, Brownsville is one of the last places where you can really get together, and it's not you don't have to wait 5 minutes to get from one side of Brownsville to the other side of Brownsville. But it's gonna get like that with SpaceX. It's gonna get like that, and the real estate, like I said, is going up, and people are getting scared. They're like, "Well, chingao, you know, now I can't buy the land. Now I can't do this. Pinche Musk, you know, now everything." But but then again, we bitch because we want to be like McAllen. We want to be like Austin. We want to be like San Antonio. But these people, a lot of people don't understand. If you want it like that, well, everything's going to go up in price.
Look, I don't think that, and I mean this respectfully, I don't think that people in Brownsville want to be like McAllen or San Antonio or Dallas or Austin or what have you. I think that as far as opportunity, right, you think, hey, I wish we had the opportunity, or we had the restaurants or the growth or whatever. But Brownsville has its own identity, Charlie. I think that what happens is, look, McAllen is you know, they've got their thing going on. You also have to remember the proximity from McAllen to Monterrey, right? I mean, that's a big factor. You've got a huge city in Monterrey that's in 2.5, 3 hours by toll road, or whatever, 2 hours from McAllen, right? So there's going to be folks that are coming in from this huge metropolitan area coming into McAllen. So to compare McAllen to Brownsville, I think is a bit unfair. But I think that certainly you have opportunities in Brownsville, and you have, as you pointed out, you know, the family getting together and hanging out. And so I laugh my ass off. You're so ugly, Charlie. That's funny, man. I'm sorry. I just saw that. So look, man, I don't know that Brownsville needs to identify with McAllen or San Antonio or Austin. I think Brownsville is its own city. It's got its own identity. It's got its own folks and people. And yeah, man, I think that growth will happen organically.
Yeah, I think my brother has a point there. If we're going to turn over Boca Chica, just allow a place for the public to be able to go there. You know, we might have to build a different bridge on the side of Boca Chica Road, and
right.
Where I think there's always compromise to get what you want done. And
but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, and I don't disagree with your brother. What I'm getting at, Charlie, is that there's always opportunity, right? So okay, so cool. So you set aside those deals. You get folks like Ricardo and other residents that say, hey, look, man, we're all for the growth and it's cool, but we need to carve out our own little space. We want to make sure that folks from Brownsville, from Los Fresnos, from Olmito are able to access our natural resources. So I don't see an issue with that, and I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Do we have more questions, Miss Producer? Any more questions coming in?
Nada, vato. Nobody's watching, just Ricardo.
Puro chafas.
Es el único vato. Puro support from family. You got to love it.
No, my brother's always been supporting me. But let's move on to another question. And what people want to call, I think what the far right and Fox News want to say, there's a crisis on the border. Yeah. You know, they don't want to talk about all the people shooting up people in America, but they want to talk about how people are entering the port of entries in mass amounts. And I agree it's a situation, but I don't think it's a crisis because nobody's died. People are trying to get in,
Yes.
in the asylum. You know, that something they've been doing for 50 years, Mark.
Yeah.
When I was a customs agent, I was processing 10 Cubans a day.
Right.
And that's just me, and we're 15 guys there. So the other 10 guys or 14 guys, they had to process Cubans too, man. So Brownsville was the biggest crosser of Cubans to this day.
Right.
You know, and people
even bigger than Florida, Charlie?
Oh, but more than Florida, because they found a connection. They found that they can take a boat ride from Cuba to Cancun. And from Cancun,
they can come up.
Coyotes would take them around and bring them right to Brownsville, man. Right. So it's a niche. They got a niche. They know how to get through. And you know, a lot of these Cubans come in and they're fleeing communism and stuff like that. And they get to Florida and they want to be Republicans. And I get it. But you know, they don't understand that Hondurans are fleeing their government too. It's super corrupt, you know, but now you have all these masses of people coming in. Yes, it's a situation that the Border Patrol and Customs need to handle. They can handle it. But like I tell people, and you know, we have friends that are DA agents, FBI agents, and other customs agents, and they're the first ones to tell us the bad people aren't going to come right now through the border. They're going to come at night. They're going to cross through other means. If they're bad, they're not gonna try to risk it trying to show up at the border. Hey, can I come in? They're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? Because these people do get fingerprinted. They do get, even though if they don't have documentation, they're gonna get fingerprinted. And if something comes up, something comes up. You know what I mean? And for the most part,
look, man, that's. If I had the answer to that, I'd be writing books and I'd be a millionaire, right? It's such a tough subject because I think you have to look at it this way. First off, there's a lot of really bad information, right? In other words, people hear what they want to hear. If it aligns with your beliefs, then that's what you're going to read, right? If you lean right, you're going to lean right. If you lean left, you're going to lean left. And what I mean by that is that you get into situations, Charlie, where there's just bad information and folks are misinformed. Now, is there a crisis? Is there, again, that's a subject of interpretation, right? How do you define crisis? And is it an issue? But I think that what tends to happen is you get into cases where people, and I say people, congressmen, politicians, what have you, they divert. In other words, does the subject matter, does the topic align with my views, right? In other words, you're talking about folks on the right that are talking about the crisis in the Valley, but they're not talking about the situations going on in Georgia, right? They're not talking about voter suppression. They're not talking about situations where you have state officials that have been under indictment for 5 years. Look, man, I'm gonna be super frank with you, Charlie. I'm at a point in my life where I'm sick of the left and I'm sick of the right. I'm sick and tired of, you get into situations where, God, how do I say this without sounding like a prick? I think that there are folks on the left and folks on the right that have agendas, and we agree on that, right? There's no argument there. The general public gets stuck in the middle, dealing with all the crap, and I think that's the issue. So to answer your question, do I think there's an issue on the border? Look, man, I don't know that there is or isn't an issue on the border. I don't know that the numbers justify that there's an issue today versus 5 years ago versus 10 years ago. I mean, you would know that better than I, right? Yeah. I don't see where there's a problem. I think that, Charlie, people fail to recognize that immigrants, legal or illegal, play a super large role in our economy. When people, in particular here in Austin, I have friends of mine that argue about that. Oh, the border, and all these folks are coming in, and these illegal.
Your white friends, right?
Friends in general.
All right, you said your white friends.
No, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. What I'm trying to tell you is this: is that I have friends of mine that complain about that. Right? They're saying, "Hey, man, there's a huge crisis at the border." And I'm like, well, is that crisis inclusive of the folks that are working in your kitchens and in your bars and bar backing that are not on the up and up? Well, that's different. Those are good folks. And what I'm trying to get at, Charlie, is this. What people don't realize is that I'm not saying that I agree with illegal immigration. What I'm saying is that there are folks that are already in our country that are not legal, okay, that are working. They've been here for 10, 15, 20, 30 years or what have you. So my thought is, look, why don't we figure out a way to make these folks legal and allow them to contribute, right? So when you think about folks saying, oh, these folks are taking our jobs. Okay, well, are you going to go pick grapes for Are you going to go pick grapes for $5 an hour? No, you're not going to do it, man. So when people say that, oh, these folks are taking our jobs, I'm like, well, you're not going to take that job, bro. You're not going to go pick cotton. You're not going to go pick strawberries. You're not going to go pick grapes. So when you start to realize that, okay, fine, get rid of those folks and get folks that are legal to go pick dude, Charlie, you're going to pay $18 for that pint of strawberries.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at, and I'm babbling a little bit, but is that people don't understand the consequences. So what I'm saying is, you think about Reagan, right? I'm not a fan of his economic policy at all. When you think about Star Wars, are you getting bored with me, or are you about to throw up, or are you moving your camera?
No, I'm connecting my battery.
Okay, whatever, man.
Right.
So listen, I'm kidding, Charlie. Here's what I'm trying to get at. When you think about Reagan understood the value of immigrants, right? He said, hey, look, man, we need to get these folks involved. We need to get them to contribute, right? Where today the focus is, oh, we don't want these folks here. Or look, man, I don't have an answer, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. I don't know whether there's a crisis at the border. I just know that people are undervalued. You go to every work site in the state of Texas and you're going to see raza out there.
No, but Trump made it an issue. He didn't do it like Reagan. He basically said that Mexicans are rapists and murderers. He set the tone on how bad he wanted his base to come out and start yelling and screaming. That
look, Charlie, here's my thought, right? I think the office of the presidency deserves a level of respect, right? I don't think any of us, whether you're Democrats or Republicans, liberals or whatever, I don't think anybody wants the president to fail, the president of the U.S., right? We don't. I think that what I'm getting at is that at least I hope the majority of people give our president the benefit of the doubt, whether he or she is a Republican or a Democrat. And I think that what happened is there was, again, a lot of bad information. And I think you have a guy who comes in who wasn't prepared to lead a country, not because he's a Republican. I just don't think he was prepared, whether he was a Republican or a Democrat, because we all know that he was a Democrat up until 2015, right? I mean, that's a fact. So this isn't about political affiliation or parties. This is about your ability to lead our country. And I just don't think that I don't think he did a good job. I think he meant well initially. I do. I just don't think that he was able to follow through with a lot of what he intended and maybe what he promised. I mean, when you start to talk about things like, yeah, we're going to make Mexico pay for a border wall, I'm like, dude, you don't have any control over what Mexico's doing or not doing. Those, to me, are disillusions. And when you get folks that start to talk about, well, the election was, it was stolen from us, and I'm like, okay, I mean, do you have proof of that, or is it just, are you just an angry elf?
He filed 64 lawsuits based on fraud, and none of them panned out.
Yeah, look, man,
you know where he got the money for the border wall? He took it from the defense budget. He took it away from the military.
No,
budget.
I don't know that because I'm not. Again, that's
I'm telling you, that's what he did. He used military budget money to pay for the rest of the wall because Mexico wasn't going to pay for it.
No, Mexico basically
those are political promises that he couldn't keep, but it's good enough to charge up all these rednecks and all these places.
Yeah, isn't that, Charlie, what the majority of these folks do is they feed into the masses? They say they'll tell you what it is you want to hear. And that's really my argument. My argument is that I have friends that are on the right and friends that are on the left that are passionate, and I'm thinking, no, none of these guys give a shit about you. They don't care. They don't care. I mean, look, I have friends of mine that are staunch Trump supporters, and I'm like, do you get a call from Trump? I mean, what is it that you? And then there are folks that are huge Biden supporters, and I'm thinking, okay, is Joe Biden going to pick up the phone and call you? I mean, look, man, this is a really tough topic and subject. I have my personal opinion. At the end of the day, I think it should be about the American public and our interests. I don't think it should be. But look, Charlie, when you have folks that are worth billions of dollars, right, that are running this country, that have particular interests. So when people talk about, oh, you know, Trump wasn't taking a salary, I'm like, yeah, man, but he benefited in other ways, right? And I'm not saying that he's the only one that did it. What I'm getting at is that those folks, how do you have somebody that's Joe Biden or Donald Trump relate to Charlie Atkinson or Marco Benavides? They can't relate to my plight and to my struggles or your struggles or anybody else's struggles. So when people say, you know, I relate to, no, you don't. And he doesn't relate to you.
That you know, with me, dude, look, my wife's a Republican. You knew that, Camille. She's a Republican. Her family's a Republican. But, you know, they were in a dilemma like you and like me. I gave Trump a chance when he won. I kind of like the border.
As you should, right? Because we want to support our president.
I'm patriotic. I'm patriotic, and I'm going to give my president a chance. But when he starts being morally unethical, when 15 of his cabinet members end up going to jail, and when when you see a rat for a rat that he is, you just have no respect. And they couldn't vote. Republicans got Biden elected, not Democrats.
Yeah.
You know, and people need to remember that Trump doubled down on his base that wasn't big enough to win. It was big enough to win the first time because he fooled a lot of Republicans
and Democrats.
Voted for him, but then all these Republicans that got disillusioned.
Look, Charlie, let me tell you,
what?
This is my stance. I don't identify with one or the other party. I really don't, man. We were fortunate, and I say we, my brother and I, because my dad, who taught history, sociology, political science, always taught us to vote never for a party, always for the issues in the platform. In other words, whether somebody was a Republican or a Democrat, if you align with those issues and you align with that platform, cool, right? I've never voted a straight ticket in my life. I voted for both Democrats and Republicans. So what I'm getting at is that I think that what we're seeing a lot of pack mentality. There are folks that are way right and there are folks that are way left. And then there's the rest of us who are stuck in the middle dealing with all the junk, right? So look, man, I don't have an answer for why Trump did what he did or didn't do what he promised he was going to do. I think that the majority of middle America is left holding the bag. Look, you're talking about Camille, right? Whom I love, I've known for years, just as long as you. My wife was born and raised in Dallas, and she is a staunch Republican. And trust me when I tell you, man, we get into it all the time. And it's not because I lean left. It's because I get sick and tired of just the justification on the right and the left, right? I mean, I hate to mention names, right? Because I just, whatever, man. I'm indifferent about things. But you think about the situation that we're facing here in Texas with our attorney general, who's been under indictment for 5 years. People always talk about honesty and sincerity. I'm like, here's a guy who's literally been under indictment for 5 years, and nobody has a problem with that.
What's his name? What's his name?
Of course, you're going to ask me that shit, and I'm not going
to. Oh, okay. You don't have
to.
No, I can Google.
Yeah, let me
Google it.
Googlealo, vato. Hold on.
You know, okay, let's go to Abbott. How are Austin people? Are they favoring Abbott? Because I know Beto O'Rourke wants to run against him. What's the deal with
Charlie? Ken Paxton. I just blanked. I was Ken Paxton.
Okay. So what is the feeling about Abbott? The way he's handled the last few months, reopening Texas, and you're not having to wear a mask. What's
Yeah, so I definitely have strong opinions about that. I'm a big fan of less government, right? So I don't think that government. I don't think government should delve into private business when it comes to those types of things. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't wear my mask. I wear my mask. I don't have a problem with that. But do I think that government ultimately should determine whether or not a business should be open or not? No, look, here's what I think. I think businesses should be open. If you, Charlie Atkinson, want to patronize that business and you want to wear a mask or not wear a mask, that's up to you. Now, I also think that businesses have the right, as they always have, to refuse business if you're not wearing a shirt, shoes, or a mask. What I'm getting at is that I'm not a fan of government telling me, hey, you can or can't open your business. I'm like, look, man, I need to operate and I should be allowed to operate. If my patrons don't want to come see me, then that's okay. I think that the part of the argument, Charlie, and the disconnect, again, I use that word a lot, but the disconnect is that there are so many people on the right that have been arguing we need to open Texas back up and we need to do this, that, and the other. I'm like, no, I get it, and I don't disagree. But last time I checked, we have a Republican governor who opted to close the state down. So when you start to blame the other party for things that I don't know if that makes any sense, man. I want to try to be as politically correct as possible. But look, I don't agree with government shutting businesses down. If you don't want to go, Charlie, because you're afraid or you want to wear a mask, that's cool. I'm okay with that. But I don't think the government should dictate private business when it comes to those things.
Yeah, I hear you.
And you might disagree, right? I mean, obviously, you might have a different opinion, but I'm free for businesses opening.
No, I totally agree with that. And so Austin's back on his feet a little bit?
No, Austin's killing. That's my dad in the background, by the way.
Yeah, that's cool. Hello.
I don't know how many folks you have online right now, but or my mom, I don't know shit. So no, anyway, Charlie, go ahead. Like I said, look, man, I have strong opinions about a lot of stuff, and I think that at the end of the day, it's about being objective, and I think that that's where we lose a lot of our sight, right? Is that people are either way right or way left. Okay. And we're seeing more of that, right? It's more tribal today than it was years ago, where you have folks that are really like, I don't care if my guy is convicted and in prison, I'm going to stand by him. I'm like, yeah, man, but that's not.
It's unethical.
Yeah.
It's unethical. Now, we're going to have James Kostohryz on tonight. That flunky didn't come on.
Ken Paxton, Ricardo just reaffirmed what I was getting at. Your brother did.
But we talked a little bit about investments, Mark. You know a little bit about the Bitcoin or the Litecoin. What is that to you? What do you get out of that?
All right. So again, I'm not an expert, man, and I know James is. This is what he does and what he delves in. So I've spent so Litecoin and Bitcoin, Ripple, XRP, Ethereum, they're all digital currencies, right? And they're decentralized. And what that means is that there's no bank. Let me give you an example, Charlie. If you go to your bank tomorrow, hold on, man. Let me help my daddy. Just give me a second.
Anyway, do we have any more comments? Let's go through some comments real quick. If we have any, Miss Producer, are we good? Are we up to date with?
All right, Charlie. Sorry about that. I had to help my dad, his old ass. He's in the kitchen grabbing snacks. So as far as Litecoin and digital currency, so let's say, for example, that you go to your bank tomorrow, right? Where do you bank? Or maybe it doesn't matter, I guess. It doesn't matter.
Chase.
Okay, so you go to your bank and you say, hey, look, man, I got to pull out $15,000 from the ATM. And they're going to say, well, Mr. Atkinson, you're limited to 25, right? So indirectly what happens is that you're basically asking the bank when you can pull out your own money. This is your money, right? But they're telling you, hey, you can only take out $2,000 or $2,500 bucks or $5,000. So what cryptocurrency does or digital currency is it allows you to, there is no bank per se that is keeping you from using the money to purchase products, goods and services, or giving it to someone, right? Now, the downside is that it's also not backed by the federal government like our currency is in our banks, right? When you go to the bank, you always see that most people, or maybe they don't pay attention or maybe they do, whatever, but it's you've got money that's backed by the federal government saying, hey, somebody steals this money, we're going to back it, right? That's not the case with digital currency. But I think that what's happening, Charlie, is that we're seeing a shift back to your question early on with regard to online education, is that people are doing, I don't carry cash anymore. I don't know about you, man. I do everything online. I don't see my money. I don't touch it. Everything is paid online. Liar. My daughter said that I'm a liar, that I do carry cash. All right, man. So anyway, look, man, I think, Charlie, that there's going to be opportunity in digital currency. It's really volatile. I invested in digital currency back in 2016, and I still hold Litecoin specifically, and some XRP, which is Ripple.
You make money off. You make money off it sitting there, or do you buy more, or how does it work?
So here's how it works, right? So you buy a coin, for instance, and a coin could be worth $20 today. And then let me give you an example, Charlie. And I don't know that this is super accurate, but March of last year, Litecoin was worth $30 a coin. It maxed at about $320, $330, I think in 2017 or 2018. And then it dropped back down to about 25 bucks. Right now, Litecoin is trading at about $220. So if you, Charlie Atkinson, bought Litecoin last March at $25, let's say you bought 100 coins, 25 bucks, right? Do the math, $2,500.
Yeah.
Today, those 100 coins would be worth about $40,000. So you're into it for 2,500 bucks. Right now it's trading at, and I said, actually, that's not right. Let me do the math out because I'm going to sound like a pendejo. Hold on. So if you got 100, if you have 100 coins,
get out of there.
Right now it's trading at 250. Yeah, so it's worth about $25,000. So if you bought Litecoin at 25 bucks a year ago and it's trading at 250, you bought 100 coins, it's worth 25 grand. So I mean, do the math, Charlie, right? You're into it. You've made your money tenfold in less than 12 months.
Now, do you take it out real quick or do you let it ride?
I mean, I'm letting it ride, right? Because they're talking about Litecoin going up to about $1,000 in the next year or two. So
who's they? Who's they talking about?
Yeah, there's analysts, right? Just like the market. I mean, if you think about the market is speculative, right? When you talk about the stock market, and I've got some interest in the stock market. I'm certainly not an expert, but when you think about the stock market and people talk about, think about this, Charlie. Think about oil prices and gas prices, right? People right now are complaining about, oh, gas prices are going up. Well, they're going up because there's more demand. We were in a pandemic for the last year. Nobody was driving. So the cost of oil and gas was down, although production was down. But do you remember, Charlie, when we would get the hurricanes down in the Gulf and people would say, oh, the gas prices shot up. Why? Well, because we've got these hurricanes, right? And so what I'm getting at is that everything in the market, in my opinion, just like in cryptocurrency, it's all speculative. There are people that are experts that say, yeah, well, in 6 months, Apple is trading at, let me give an example. Apple was trading at $119 about 2 weeks ago. My daughter says, hey, Dad, Apple's trading at $119. We should buy in. Okay, cool. Today, Apple closed at $130 a share. Experts are saying that in the next 5 years, Apple's going to be worth about $600 a share. Whether that happens or not is yet to be determined. So it's the same thing with cryptocurrency. It's the same thing with the real estate market, right? You can speculate.
Now, let me ask you a question because my son, my son Charlie, Chuck, he just became full-time employee for SpaceX.
Right. Tell him to take stock options.
Well, that's my question to you. He got a raise, right? He's making good money, and they give him stock options. And only employees of SpaceX and Tesla can get these stock options right now. It's not public right now.
Right.
So what would be your advice to him if they do offer a stock option?
Take as many stocks as you can.
As opposed to, hey, we're going to give you want a $5 raise more an hour? Or do you want stock options?
Yeah, I'll take stocks all day, Charlie. And I'm going to tell you why. The minute SpaceX and the Boring Company go public, if they ever go public, those $5 they're going to be worth, and I don't know whether it's tenfold or 100-fold, but yeah, I'll take stock all day, right? I mean, I'm assuming he's getting paid a decent wage.
He's between $30 and $35.
Let me give you an example, Charlie. When my dad retired from Brownsville Independent School District after 35 years of teaching, he bought Apple stock, right? He bought Apple stock at $8 a share. Okay. They were going through some changes where Steve Jobs was let go and they brought in the CEO. I think at the time he was for Pepsi. I don't remember specifically. Eventually they brought Steve Jobs back. My point is that Apple stock capped at about $500 a share. Okay. Now do the math. You own 1,000 shares of something at $5. That stock converts eventually to $500-$600 a share. That's, I mean, you're talking $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $1 million, $1.5 million. I mean, so again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm certainly not James Kostohryz. What up, James? But if you're giving me options of SpaceX or the Boring Company, I'll take that all day, bro. All day. Because that's going to be worth a ton of money if and when he goes public.
Wow. So yeah, they're
now again, I as a disclaimer, Charlie, I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not qualified. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. Yeah, I'll take stock all day, man.
My brother says it's just like the insurance industry. It's counting on everyone not using the majority of it, and it's accumulating fake value like baseball cards.
Is your brother talking about crypto?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's talking about crypto. Look, it's the same thing that's happening right now with, I don't know what the correct term is, but you've got guys that are selling, like the guy that are selling, the guy from Twitter. I just blanked, man. I should know the guy's name. The guy from Twitter that just sold his first tweet for a couple of $1 million. I think that's what your brother's referencing. But again, it's all speculative, Charlie. The cryptocurrency is no different than me speculating on. I mean, look at what happened with Enron, right? And look at what happened with Lehman Brothers in 2005. I mean, Lehman Brothers had been around for 100 years, and they went south. You look at GM, you look at Ford asking for bailouts all the time.
Ford didn't get the bailout. GM did.
Well, GM, Ford, Ruth's Chris, PPP money, that type of deal. So yeah, it's. I think it's a little. It's above my pay grade, man. But that's just my opinion.
So I mean, I'm pretty impressed how you dabble in that stuff, man. I mean, I guess I'm waiting for my kids to get out of college, then I'll start risking my money a little bit more. But
yeah, look, your situation's a little different, Charlie, right? I mean, you've been super fortunate. You have a wonderful wife, a wonderful kids. But what do you have, like 19 kids? I would wait too. I wouldn't take any risk. No, man.
Hey, nobody makes babies like a Benavides. Benavides are all over the place.
I know, man. You better watch out. I might get you pregnant from this telecast. No, look, man. I think that risk is relative, right? I mean, you want to be somewhat conservative, but in order to make money, you've got to take some risk, and I think some people are inherently they take risks, and others are a little bit more conservative. But
speaking of risk, let's go to something lighter. Was it risky paying Dak Prescott or not?
Dude, you know what? That's a real tough one, man. I'm going to tell you what. I'm a big Prescott fan. I think Dak. He's a good kid, and I say kid respectfully. He's a good kid. He's not getting into trouble. You look at the situation with Watson up in Houston, right? That's unfortunate. But I don't know that he's worth $40 million, Charlie. I mean, shit. In my opinion, you go after Aaron Rodgers, right, or maybe Wilson from the Seahawks, who are proven. I don't know, man. I think that $40 million is a ton of money. Think about it. They could have closed him down for 32 a year ago or 2 years ago. But look, if I'm Jerry Jones, clearly he's boasting about making. What did he make? $100 million during the storm in February? Wasn't there an article about him talking crazy that he made a bunch of money? So I think I'm a Cowboys fan, right? You and I both know we've been going to Cowboys games for 20 years together, along with our families. So. It's a tough call, man. $40 million is a ton. Look, I go after Aaron Rodgers or I go after Nick Foles or even Wilson. Hey, look, man, what's the kid from New York that just got traded? Darnold? I go after him. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's in a tough situation.
Why couldn't he be successful with the Jets?
Because it's New York Jets, bro. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Yeah. No, look, man, I just don't think Darnold had the right offense. I don't think he had the right coaching. I don't think he's had the right offense.
I was calling Carlos Benavides because I wanted him on, us three on. I think it would have even been a blast even more. We got to get that. We got to get that done pretty soon, man. I think people would enjoy it. There's a lot of old friends that would love to see us on there. They've always asked about you back here. Just want you to know that even though you're not in Brownsville, your name still gets brought up a lot, man. With the famous, some of the great legends.
Well, I appreciate you guys, man. I miss getting together with you guys, Charlie. I know it's probably time to wrap up. I apologize. That's my dad's old ass. Anybody that knows, he taught at La Pora, vato. He taught at La Pora when it first opened up, sociology and history, for many years, and then he went and taught at Pace. About 35, and then my mom taught at Canales con todos los chiquitos, vato. Oh,
chiquitos.
Primos, vato, went to la Canales, vato.
Yeah, then they ended up at La Folca.
Yeah, la pinche Folca. Is that where you're at, or you're at La Pora?
I was at Folk. Now I'm at Rivera.
Yeah. My mom was there. I think. Remember Bryce Conway? He went to Hannah with you. Bryce's mom, I think, was an administrator at Canales back in the day.
Yeah. He was. What about that other guy, Cruz, or what was his name? He was a drummer, Cecil.
Oh, Cecilio Ruiz. Cecilio's in town, man. He's been playing around for a while. He was in Hannah. I think he was a year before me and a year ahead of you or behind you. But
his dad was an administrator, right?
No. His dad was actually with you guys in customs for a long time.
That's right.
Yeah, his dad was.
What band is he in? What band is he in?
So he was playing back in the day with my uncles, right? Back in Nosotros.
Nazitraz.
Far out, man. And then he moved to Austin, played in Austin for quite a while. He's still in town. He played with Little Joe's son, Eddie Hernandez. They had a band called the Heebie Jeebies, and he spent some time playing percussion for a band called Vallejo, who toured with Stone Temple Pilots and Matchbox 20 and a lot of big guys. So, yeah, a lot of great music.
Vallejo was from Brownsville, right?
Vallejo's actually from a little place outside of Houston called El Campo. And I got to meet those guys here in Austin about 20 years ago when they were touring, like I said, with Matchbox 20, Stone Temple Pilots, and a bunch of these other bands. The Cult. I got a chance to see those guys. A lot of great music still, Charlie. A lot of stuff going on in town, and
when do you think we're going to see concerts?
Man, look. It sounds to me like they're starting to open up. So I'm in South Austin, South Side. I'm in South Austin, and there's a couple of venues. So talking about entertainment districts, there's a street right up the road from where I live. It's called Manchaca. And there's a bunch of new restaurants and bars that are opening up on Manchaca, and there's a little place down there that we frequent that has a bunch of new live bands. And man, there's a lot of folks in Austin. You know, there's a band called the Black Pumas that just got they were up for a Grammy. They're based out of Austin. There's of course Vallejo. There's guys like Charlie Sexton that are still in town. There's a bunch of great venues. The Continental Club that's been around for quite a while. Austin's still great music city, man. There's a lot of
capital city of the world. Yeah,
that's what they say, man. So Nosotros played at my wedding in 1986. That's great. Ricardo was about 14. I'm kidding.
Hey, Nosotros played at my wedding too in 99. When did I get married?
Yeah, with Camille. I remember. I was there. I was one of your groomsmen, bro.
That's right. And that's when
and Carlos.
It was great times, man. So your business is parent-taught-driving-course.com.
Parent-taught-driving-course.com, man. So we're approved statewide. We offer online driver's ed courses for kiddos that want to take their classes.
Now, what if you're that parent that says, "God damn, I don't want to. Why am I paying if I'm gonna have to do the work? Can my kid do all the work?"
Yeah, so here's where you have to, and I'll make this quick, Charlie, because I'm sure that most of your listeners are like, yeah, whatever, dude, we get it. But when you go to a regular driver's ed, I'm divorced now, so so here's the thing. You're going to be required to do 30 hours of driving at home, whether you do a course like mine or a commercial driving school. The question is, what's more convenient? So as I told you, we have Benavides driving schools in the Valley. So if you want to do an in-person class, cool. You want to do an online course, parent-taught-driving-course.com, jump online and check it out.
So now the parent has to log down
30 hours.
I think my wife handled it. I didn't handle it. So I guess Camille would write down the hours she did with Camille.
So you have to do 30 hours whether you're in a commercial driving school setting or whether you're in an online program like mine.
Yeah. So the parent just logs it down, right?
That's it. Yeah.
And then you certify something, and then they go take the test.
Well, what happens is we provide the content, Charlie. We don't actually, quote unquote, certify anybody. We provide Charlie Atkinson, Camille Atkinson. Here's a curriculum. Here are the guidelines. Here's what you have to do. Ultimately, you sign the legal documents validating that your kiddo's done the work. So we provide an approved curriculum for 1/4 of the cost of a regular driving school. And of course, you get some guidance, right? If people call or email me, I'm gonna walk them through the process. So no issue there. But it's a much more convenient platform.
One more topic.
Sure.
You have LeBron James complaining that the Nets build a dynasty. They're building, but then Charles Barkley came out and said, "Why are you bitching? It's karma. It came back to you. Didn't you do that when you went to the Heat?" What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so here's the thing. You have to remember, I was fortunate enough to watch LaMarcus Aldridge play at UT and Kevin Durant. They were a year apart. Aldridge went into the NBA a year before Durant got here, right? And at the time, Rick Barnes was the coach here at UT, and I remember him being interviewed, and they asked him, they said, "Hey, man, why do you take guys like LaMarcus Aldridge and Kevin Durant that are only going to be here for a year?" He's like, "Because I'd rather have them for a year than not," right? So that was kind of his philosophy, and this is before Shaka. But my point, Charlie, is that I'm a big sports fan. You and I both know that. We spent a lot of time over the years going to games, both basketball and football. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to the NBA. I think that when you have folks that take 4 steps and they don't get called on walking, I'm like, what? Am I missing something? Or
what do they call it? The Euro.
Yeah, you have guys like Harden, and you have you guys like. That's why I don't understand the debate when you talk about the GOAT, right? Let's backtrack a little bit. I'm gonna go to football. So I'm a Cowboys fan. There's no argument there. But there's no denying that Brady's on a completely different level right now. Granted, football today versus when Aikman played is not the same. People. It frustrates me that people never talk about or include Aikman in conversation when they talk about the greatest quarterbacks. I also don't understand why they don't talk about Terry Bradshaw. Now, as a Cowboys fan, you probably wouldn't expect me to talk about a Steelers quarterback, but Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls.
Poncho would love you for that.
Yep. El orejón. But here's the thing. What I'm trying to get at, Charlie, is that it's a different game today. But at the end of the day, Brady's done something that nobody's ever done, right? So what I'm trying to get at is that the game is different today. I'm not a fan of LeBron's because LeBron's player. I'm not a fan of LeBron's because I think that they spend so much time complaining and bitching. And I'm like, dude, just play the game. LeBron wouldn't have lasted 2 minutes with guys like Lambeer and Bird, right? I mean, again, you and I, we followed the Bulls. We followed the Rockets when you had Akeem and those guys there, and of course the Spurs. But I don't think there's a comparison, Charlie. I think that going back to your initial question, teams are bought, man. I mean,
championships are bought.
Or yes, championships are bought. So, I mean, look, I don't mind. I'm a fan of Aldridge. I like him. He was with the Spurs before he went over to the Nets, and Durant's there, and they got – who's the other kid they got, the other stud?
What's his name? Kyrie?
Kyrie. Yeah, man. So I don't follow the NBA as much as I used to, because I just, as you pointed out, I think championships are bought. I mean, which is kind of ironic, because if you think about the Spurs, they were the most they were the least flashy team in the NBA, and they managed to win.
We're talking about the UT basketball, like how they've never been ranked in the top 10 ever, and they had players like Aldridge and Kevin Durant.
No. Let me correct you. And humbly, they have been ranked in the top 10. I mean, you have to remember, Charlie, that there was a point where they were making the Sweet 16 and the Final Four over the course of about a decade, right? This is, again, when
they never won it, though. They never won it.
No. Right, but they were ranked.
Okay.
They were ranked.
I don't think they've ever gotten better than 10.
Hey, you know what? How about Baylor, bro?
Yeah, they're the first team in Texas.
Really?
They just announced that they're the first team in Texas to win a national championship.
That's great. Now, remember, Baylor women's basketball has always been super, super successful.
What about that argument that what's his name, Green from Sacramento, where what's his name plays? Green. What's his name? Green from
Poncho Hernandez?
No, Green from, not George Green. Green, Daryl Green? No, not Daryl Green. What, the guy from
Daryl Green played at A&I, bro. What?
No, Green. What's his name? Anyway, one of the NBA guys are like telling that soccer player, that female soccer player, that from the U.S. soccer team, she's like, how come men make more than women? And it's not fair. And he came out and said, well, when you put 100,000 people in the stands,
yeah,
then you'll start getting paid like we do.
Accordingly. Yeah, no, look, that's
do you agree with that, or you don't agree with that?
No, I don't agree or disagree. I think that it's a tough one, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a business, right? It's a business. And so this isn't. Let me give you an example, Charlie. If you have a business that generates $50,000 a year, and then you have a business that generates $50 million a year, right? If you've got a business that generates $50 million a year, you can afford to pay your employees a little bit more money. If you have a business that generates $50,000 a year, so I think it's relative. I don't know that it's there's certainly discrimination. There's no argument there, but I don't think that the argument is a valid argument in terms of, now when you talk about movies, that's a different story, right? Because you have a budget. So when you have a movie and you have $100 million budget and you're paying your female co-stars less than 20, 50, 60, 70% less than your male counterparts, yeah, no, I think that's bullshit. But when it comes to sports, why do you think the coach at Westlake gets paid double what a coach in another school would get paid? Because Westlake has won numerous state titles. They have produced 2 Super Bowl champions in Nick Foles and Drew Brees, right? So when you draw, it's like the Cowboys. The Cowboys have been nowhere near a championship in 25 years, yet they're still the most profitable sports franchise in the world, right? So it's about revenue, man. Maybe that what I'm saying doesn't make a bunch of sense, but I'm not a fan of discrimination. I don't think that a male counterpart should make less than a female, or I'm sorry, more than a female counterpart. But I also think that you have to take economics into consideration. I mean, again, you have a business that does, you have the business that does $50,000 a year versus a business that does $50 million.
Yeah, no, you have a point there.
So I don't look. I'm not saying that it's not. It's not.
Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors. What's that guy Green from Golden State Warriors?
Yeah.
What's his name? What's his first name?
Panchito?
No, Green, dude. The Golden State Warriors.
I don't remember the guy's name. Hey, can we take about a 30-second break?
No, we're gonna take off right now. I just wanted to. We'll wrap it up right now. I know we've been on like an hour and a half. So
no, I don't mind. I just have to run and grab something from the kitchen.
No, we'll close it out because I gotta
no. I want to go to the kitchen. Give me a second.
Okay.
Say hello, Sugar.
What's going on, girl? I haven't seen you in a long time. I still can't see you, but I know you're there.
Hi.
Hi. Is your daddy still silly?
Yeah, he's going to the poop.
Yeah. I can hear him. How old are you now?
13.
Damn, you got old. You have a boyfriend yet? Your dad doesn't know, right?
Ugh.
You do?
No.
Oh, not yet? You don't do the online dating? Your dad would kill you. There he comes.
All right, Charlie, I'm back. Sorry, man. Okay, brother.
Where'd you go? Your daughter said he want to go poop.
Rebecca. I had to go pee, man, if you want to know the truth. All right, brother. So, anything else, man? We're good to go?
Good to go. I just wanted to let people know who you are. I want to have you back on the show. I want people to know how good my friends are doing. I'm very, very always proud of my friends. And like, James Kostohryz, we grew up together too, another childhood friend. I wanted to expose him and let the Valley and the people know who he is, because he's done a lot. You've done a lot, man. You've helped out so many people. You've been a bridge to a lot of us, a lot of friends that have stayed connected. And, we're on a thread together with about 10 guys.
We've been on that thread for about 6 years, bro.
Yeah, 6 year is a 6-year thread with 10 crazy guys. And we still tell the mom jokes. We still make fun of people. We still have our views and stupid videos and stuff.
And we don't all agree. There's no doubt about that, man. But
I know sometimes we call each other and we're frustrated with the way the United States is running, and it's good to vent. It's good to vent, and it's good to talk to people that are going to listen and who may have it just like you, and that need to hear, and they want to know that, hey, they're not alone. And like all the people that have been dying this year, we've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a good friend of mine. It sucks. I mean, these last 2 years have sucked. It really has sucked. There seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel if people keep getting this vaccine. You have these pendejo rednecks up north. I'm not going to take the vaccine. I don't believe in it. Well, goddamn it, didn't Trump get you this vaccine and now you don't want to take it? Oh no, because Biden's giving the vaccine. It's not even Biden, man. It's scientists that are.
But I think, Charlie, I think that's was part of what I was trying to get at earlier, is that there's just a lot of bad information. There's that tribal mentality, and there's, hey, I'm not going to do this because you said I needed to do it, right? And as opposed to, hey, is this good for you? Is it bad for you? I think that there's so much. It's unfortunate that people can't think for themselves, right? It's always about, well, Biden did this or Trump did that. I'm like, yeah, but what are your thoughts on that, right? In other words, and what are you basing your opinion on? Because I think when you start to think about the information that's out there, Charlie, look, I'm not a fan of the government telling me that I have to take shots, right? I had that discussion a few years ago when our former governor was trying to force kids like my daughter to take a HPV shot vaccine. You may or may not remember that. When Perry was
going on. Why are you against it, dude?
No. You're not listening. I'm not saying I'm against the government telling me that I have to take a shot, right? Now, listen to what I'm saying. What I'm getting at is that I'm not against the COVID vaccine. I'm against people telling me that I have to take a shot, right? So you're
just being terco now.
No, I'm not being terco, compadre. You're not listening. Listen to me, Linda. Look, man, it's just my opinion, bro. What I'm saying
So
to you is
you haven't gotten the vaccine.
No, I haven't, not yet.
So you're the Mexican Karen that we talk about.
You thought that was funny? My daughter thought that was funny because you called me the Mexican Karen. No, Charlie, I haven't gotten the vaccine, homie, because I just haven't had an opportunity. But
you want to take it, but when you want to take it, not.
Listen, I'm going to tell you. I talked to an old friend of mine, one of my dearest friends, who you know, Alfredo Ramirez. He happens to be the chief of staff at the Naval Hospital in San Diego. He's a cardiothoracic surgeon. I talked to him last night. I said, "Hey, man, what's your opinion on the vaccine, right? Because I don't want to take a vaccine and then grow a third, una pinche muela abajo de aquí, así." So I said, "What's the deal, man?" And he's like, "Look, it doesn't affect your DNA." And it does. So I'm reaching out to people that are more qualified than I am, clearly, just saying, "Hey, look, this vaccine's been out for a couple of months, Charlie. I'm not opposed to anything. I just want to make sure that I'm not pumping my teen daughter full of something that's going to create problems moving forward." That's what I'm saying, is that you have to be somewhat hesitant and objective, because if it turns out that 10 years down the road, reproduction, and again, I'm spitballing, right?
People turn into zombies.
Yeah, my daughter says, what if somebody turns into a zombie? Then what?
Oh, my God. Now you're listening
then
to
what?
QAnon. Now you're conspiracy theorists.
QAnon, is that barbecue joint right there on 77, QAnon?
Shut the hell up.
No, look, Charlie, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying to you that it's got to have a little bit of research, man. That's all. I'm not saying I'm
and look
opposed
who
to it.
you go to Alfredo Ramirez from Brownsville, Texas. Grew up on Stanford. He didn't have no grass. It was all dirt fucking road all over his house. And you're trusting that Mexican to tell you whether to take the vaccine. This is the guy.
I'm saying to you that I'm doing my due diligence and asking other folks and asking people that are professional.
This is the guy who called me one time out of the blue. "Hey, Charlie, guess what I have in my hand?" "Hey, Alfredo, what's going on?" "Hey, what do you need?" He goes, "Guess what I have in my hand?" I'm like, "I don't know. What do you have?" "I have a heart in my hand. I just took this heart out.
Yeah.
And I want you to know I have a heart in my hand."
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you?
Hey,
talking?
listen, let me tell you something.
Put the heart
brother.
back in him. I'm gonna put the heart back in this guy. But I just wanted you to know I have a heart in my hand. Let me tell you. I can do that. I can do that. Then he just hangs up on me.
I'm about to hang up on you. Listen, man. Here's the deal. Alfredo Ramirez is brilliant, right? Whether he grew up in poverty or not is irrelevant. The guy is the chief of staff at the San Diego Naval Hospital. The guy's about to retire after 26, 27 years of service in our military, man. This guy's done 12 to 15 tours. I say 12 to 15 because I don't know exactly. I know it's more than a dozen tours. This guy's a badass. And yeah, to answer your question, I'll take his word and his advice all day, every day. But what I'm trying to tell you, Charlie, is that I don't want to make a rash decision, man. I want to make sure that I'm informed. And that's, I think, really the whole point of this conversation, right? Is that I think people sometimes make ill-advised decisions. They make decisions without being well-informed. And I think that that's the problem. Whether you lean left or right, in between, get informed, man. Do the research. Do your due diligence. Check multiple resources and figure out what, how you align with these things and what best suits you and your family. It's
real quick before we leave. What do you miss from the 90s, bro? And don't say my mother. What do you miss from the 90s?
Literally almost said your wife, Fato, but I didn't want to be rude. La Camille. No, man, I miss us hanging out, bro. You remember when we used to go out to, what was that joint off of 1604, Charlie? That big rant where we used to go see Missing Persons, or what was that band that it was like a kind of a Depeche Mode cover band?
Rock Waves.
Number Wave. Rock Waves was Cheese Waves. We used to do that on Wednesdays for 10-cent drinks. No, I'm talking about that. I'm talking about my daughter almost farted on the phone. on the mic. She gets that from her mom. No, what was that place? Charlie, you remember we used to go, they had the 18-wheelers and it was like 100 acres, man, and we would go out there off of 1604, dude. Oh, the Red Rock. Red Rock. I can't remember. Anyway, I miss getting together with you guys, bro.
Yeah, man. We'll get together soon, man. You remember the Bonham downtown San Antonio?
The what?
The Bonham. We used to go there on Wednesday nights, straight night.
Was that strip club?
No, it was a gay. It was a gay club, but on Wednesday nights, it was straight night, and they had the badass music, that badass band.
I tell you what, man, we had a bunch of fun. I remember we used to run around. You and I, Mike Rudd, Pete Rodriguez, Jaime El Panadero, man. We used to run around with Rita Zabaleta and Jan and John Potts and the rest of the crew, Tony Savera, all those cats, man. So I miss those times, bro.
Oh yeah, well, you know, we still try to get together. I still try to bring everybody together. And
El Fofo,
El pinche Tony just got his master's. He got a master's.
I saw that, man. I saw him post it. I saw him. Good for him. Congratulations to Tony for that. No doubt, man. Proud of him.
Keep in touch, man. If thanks for pulling me out of a jam because you know I had James Kostohryz coming on, and like I said, he got stuck in a board meeting. So, you know, thank God, you know these billionaires do, they'll just cancel on you. Thank God you were able to come through and just.
Hey, I tell you what, before I let you go, man, I tell you who you need to get on. You definitely need to get James on. I would love to be on, even as an observer, because again, I certainly not a subject matter expert, but those guys are brilliant. And David Cáceres, that's another cat that's done really, really well. As you know, one of our dear friends, and Pace grad from '87. He's out in LA doing his thing and running an equity fund out there, doing super wonderful things. And in fact, Alexi Rodriguez's brothers are doing really well as well. When you talk about finances, yeah. But you definitely got to get David and James on, no doubt about it. Charlie, thanks a bunch for having me, man. I hope that your audience isn't bored. I think we're down to probably just your brother.
Nah, a lot of people will end up seeing it later on, and you know, a lot of people staying home during the weekend. They'll catch up and watch it and stuff like that. But I really do appreciate you coming on. And like I said, I think I had a real good time this time than, you know, if you had a chance, I don't know if you saw yesterday's show, go back and look at that. I had that agent who got shot with Jaime Zapata, who passed away. And Jaime Zapata, I think I introduced you to his brother, Amador, who was a customs agent with me.
No, is that Agent Zapata that the peer is after, named after?
Yeah. The Jaime Zapata.
Yeah.
And
I remember when I was a kid, we used to go fishing there with my Uncle Pete.
Yeah. And I named a couple of roads after him too. And there's roads named after him in Laredo. And I don't know about San Antonio, but yeah, man, we'll get together. And I appreciate you coming on. And, you know, I love you like a brother. You know that. And we'll get you on again, man.
All right, Charlie. Thanks a bunch. Love you too, man. You guys have a good night.
All right, brother. All right.
Peace.